Lisey's story is exactly the kind of show that Apple TV Plus should be making, and heaven knows they need some hits right now because everybody's Apple TV Plus subscriptions that we got when we bought our devices are about to expire. And it seems to me that, they have some shows that people like. I like a lot of their shows, but they haven't really had anything that was a breakthrough success yet other than Ted Lasso. But I don't really feel like that's the type of show people subscribe to your service for. So to me, they need some buzzy hits. And what could be buzzier than Stephen King adapting his personal favorite novel for television? He wrote all 8 episodes himself. And with this cast, Julianne Moore alone would get me in, but it also has Clive Owen, who I think is fantastic, and just a lot of great actors. So I'm really interested in this. I have not read the book, so I don't really know what to expect here, but I know that it's a very, very personal story for Stephen King, that it was inspired by this experience he had where he came back from the hospital and his wife had moved a lot of his own stuff around and made him feel like a ghost in his own home, and that it's going to explore a marriage in a way that is both, deeply meaningful from a personal perspective, but also involves his signature horror elements. So to me, this sounds like exactly the type of show Apple TV needs to keep people subscribed after their free subscription ends. And it could be a nightmare for them if everyone just cancels at the same time. So let's see what we got.
Was it my imagination? Talk to me.
I have visions. I write them down and people pay to read them.
Scott had a history of becoming unstuck to reality. Where'd you go?
Yeah, this definitely seems inspired by his own life.
Where'd you go? I don't know how to do this without you.
Stories about loss can be so haunting. And here comes the horror. Yes.
I'm on a bull hunt.
What's a bull hunt?
Like a scavenger hunt Scott and his brother made up when they were kids.
Mrs. Landon,
Yes.
I just thought I'd give it one more try in person. Scott's unpublished works need to be collected, examined.
You're never going to see his papers.
She won't let them go. I'll get those papers for you. Scott Landon's books change.
Do you remember that night you asked if I was crazy?
I believed in it. That's how strong his imagination is.
There's a place. I'll take you there.
What is this? Where are we?
You solve all the riddles, find all the clues, and you get a prize.
Where we went
I'm not
today?
really a big fan of riddles and
Was
clues.
it real? Or was it my imagination? I said, Doctor, Mr. Empty, would you tell me what's wrong with me? He's gone, but he keeps pushing me.
Toward what?
Was it real? Or was it my imagination?
Well, great cast, great production values. I feel like you really need, for a story like that to work, you really need the creative space that streaming allows in this day and age. You need that ability to spread it out on a larger canvas. Stephen King has written some of his own stories, has adapted them for the screen before, but typically it hasn't worked out super well, and I would argue that's because the things that make King such a master storyteller don't really translate to the screen. I think he has, he has to have a lot of space to tell his stories. And when you try to turn the things that make his stories excellent into a film, oftentimes the abbreviated runtime makes it just not really feel like a Stephen King story. He didn't write this one, but the Dark Tower film with Idris Elba was a good example of that, where none of the things that made the books so excellent really made it into the film because they just didn't have time. So to me, it's a little bit hard to tell how good this is going to be. It kind of was giving me Castle Rock vibes, which was an okay show, don't get me wrong, but it was also a little bit on the slow side, and I don't think it was like a huge hit. So I guess this will probably be in a similar vein to that, if I had to guess. What will be really interesting to see is if it gets any critical praise, because I think it looks like a more mature story. It looks like it's something that is more adult and more personal than a lot of his works. And I feel that, the actors involved could, elevate the material even further. I mean, you've got obviously the two leads I mentioned, but also you've got Ron Cephas Jones, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Joan Allen. So it's quite a cast. I mentioned I haven't read this book. I'm definitely planning to read the book before the series is released because it does look interesting, and I'd kind of like to know how he adapts the source material. I will end up comparing the show to the book more because I do this, but I feel like I'm obsessed with storytelling and the adaptational changes that people make, so I always like to read the book at some point, either before or after I watch a series. So, but it looks solid. It didn't grip me immediately the way I was kind of hoping it would. It was a little bit hard to tell what the pitch was. I guess it's a rumination on loss and on a relationship, which, that's a little bit hard to evoke in a trailer, I guess. It's one of those things where you kind of have to have the narrative space of the actual story to kind of show us the pain and the sadness that Lisey is going through. I think Dane Dehaan, that part of the story looks perhaps the more interesting part to me because, it's kind of this fanboy character who is constantly trying to get these unpublished manuscripts, and it's inspired apparently by an interaction Stephen King had with a fan in real life. So again, I feel like King's best villains are his human villains personally. So it looks like there's definitely some supernatural or sci-fi elements here, and they look like they're really well done. Apple TV Plus always puts a lot of polish on their shows. So I'm interested in that, but I'm honestly more interested in the human side of this story. But for those of you who have read the book, are you excited? Let me know what you thought in the comments. If you're interested in seeing my upcoming, probably weekly reviews of this show and other shows, please consider subscribing to the channel. And as always, thanks for watching.